let me just let everyone introduce themselves, all the candidates introduce themselves. We're just a minute intro each. And let's start on my left here.
Hi, how are you? My name is Maria Vallado. I'm a lifelong resident of Bayonne. I am a teacher.
The mic, you gotta make sure we use the mic, okay? Because we have an online audience, okay?
Go ahead,
Hi,
sorry.
my name is Maria Vallado. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Bayonne. I'm a teacher for 23 years in the city of Newark. I was raised here in Bayonne. I went to public school here, Roosevelt, then Broome Learning Center. Then I went to HFN, graduated from NJCU with a bachelor's in education, and I received a master's degree from Concordia University in urban educational leadership. I have 23 years experience in elementary education. I've taught pre-K through 7th grade, and I think I have a lot to offer to the board with my expertise in elementary education.
Thanks, Maria. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sharma Montgomery. I am married to a Bayonne native, Chris. We have 2 kids, one who graduated Bayonne High School and one who's a junior here at Bayonne High School. I'm an Air Force veteran. I work in technology. I'm a homeowner. I'm a taxpayer here in Bayonne. I'm active in the community. I'm a member of the board on the JCC. Also volunteer with local theater groups and high school band. And I'm a regular attendee of these school board meetings, and I also think I have a lot to offer the district.
Thank you, Sharma. Mr. Cupo, please enlighten us.
Hello, my name is John Cupo. I'm a resident of Bayonne, New Jersey. I have 5 sons. Only 3 of them live in Bayonne. I'm a business person for 44 years. I'm in the real estate business. I run my own company. I handled very large sums of money on a daily basis.
I can't hear.
And I would be real good with
Mike, John,
budgets.
Mike, make sure you...
I would be real good with budgets with the school board.
Thank you. Trustee Lawandi.
Good evening. My name is Michael Wandi. I'm currently a trustee on the Bayonne Board of Education. I'm a true product of Bayonne. I went to Woodrow Wilson Elementary School, and then I went to Bayonne High School when I graduated from Bayonne High School. And then after that, I went to NJT where I got my architecture degree and project management degree. I know what it takes to go through the Bayonne school system. As a board member, I fought for essential, and that's the students, the teachers, and the taxpayers. I was able to settle 2 teachers' contracts, and I want to continue settling the third contract. I sit right now in 5 different committees, and one of the committees is negotiation, and the other committee is finance. And that gives me actually a leverage over everybody else, because that way I can tell what money we have and what money we could spend, and then that helps me actually sell a teacher's contract. And I want to continue selling the teacher's contract, and that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lawandi.
My name is Anthony D'Amico. I'm not a lifelong Bayonne resident. My wife was here and brought me out here. I love it here. I stepped up volunteering in the community. I'm a UISA soccer coach. I help out with the wrestling program at the high school. I also run the rec program. I'm also an assistant coach with Cal Ripken for my son's team. I'm running for board because, I feel like the one thing the board has always been lacking is a true parent representation, and not just a teacher or an administrator or former teacher, is an actual voice for the parents. And my background is in construction management, so the fact that our facilities are extremely poor, I feel like I can bring a lot to the table with that department.
Thank you. Trustee Munoz.
Hi, my name is Christopher Munoz, and I'm running for re-election to the school board. I'm a teacher. I'm a product of the Bayonne school system. I'm a teacher, and I'm dual certified history teacher at Hoboken High School. I teach everything from pull-out resource to AP U.S. government and politics. I have a BA in history and a master's in special education from NJCU. I'm a proud parent of 2 boys that attend the Bayonne Public Schools. I'm a homeowner and a taxpayer in town. I'm actively involved in civic organizations such as the Knights of Columbus and the upcoming Bayonne Latino Cooperative. I'm an active PAL sponsor and volunteer. So I ran for the board in 2015 because I saw many things wrong with our school system. And I want to make a difference in my community. I saw mismanagement, waste, and a complete lack of respect for the teaching profession. I'm running for re-election because I want to continue the work that I've done improving the schools and bringing the heart back to the district. I've accomplished every campaign promise that I set out to do in 2015, and I want to continue that hard work. I also want to run to keep outside
That's not
political
true.
influence from this board. Thank you.
Very good.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Acosta, also known as DA. I am a resident of Bayonne for 14 years. I was born in Puerto Rico. Came over with my parents when I was 7 years old. I have 2 great-grandchildren in middle school. I have 15 grandchildren. And my education was in Jersey City. I went to St. Peter's Grammar and the high school in Jersey City. I also took 2 years of management, business management in Hudson County Community College. But I had to go work, so I had to drop out of college, and I've been out of college for a while. But running for the board to bring in another view from the parents' view or grandparents' view. The kids need parents, they need teachers that are strict, but not too strict. Also,
That's not Mr. Acosta. Thank you. All right, so for those of you that didn't know, let me just give you the format. Pretty basic, so we're going to, obviously, I'm going to ask some questions. Everyone's going to have a chance to answer. They're going to have a minute and a half each to answer. And if it's warranted, there'll be a 30-second rebuttal. And I think we'll have some time at the end. We'll let some audience members step up to the mic and ask a few questions. So let's get started, if there's no questions from the candidates. And all right, very good. So as you guys can imagine, we're going to start with the budget. So in May, the Bayonne Board of Education approved a $127 billion budget with a 5.62% tax increase after nearly 300 teachers and staff were laid off due to a budget deficit of at least $6 billion. As we wait on the results of the state audit, what do you think the board needs to do differently to prevent this from happening again? And we'll start with Maria.
Fiscal responsibility, watching the budget, that is extremely important. The audit will be coming out in November, like you said, and it will tell us exactly what it was that happened. I believe it was a mismanagement of money, and that's where the board comes in to make sure that monies are being spent where they need to be spent. For this not to happen again, we have to watch where money is being spent, that it's actually being spent in the classrooms where the children are learning and where education is taking place. And we have to stop spending money on things that aren't as needed, like remodeling conference rooms or things like that, where that is wasteful money when we have a budget deficit that we have. Raising the taxes on the taxpayers, the way the state formula was set up by the Christie administration was that there was a 2% cap per year. It had not been raised in a few years, so there was more of a deficit. Therefore, they had to have an increase on the budget. Laying off, had to have an increase on the taxes for the budget. Laying off the ripping of 287 people teachers from the Board of Ed actually is detrimental to our children because we didn't need to rip so many teachers if we were hiring back so many as many as we did.
Thank you, Maria. That's not it. John McLaurin.
Well, I think there are 2 things we have to address within the budget situation. First and foremost, as a taxpayer and a homeowner, I want my home values to go up. I want my taxes to go down, preferably. But if they're not going to go down, I want to at least know I'm getting a return on investment in my taxes. One thing we have to do first is the state has to fully fund school formula, the funding formula. There is a problem with the funding at the state level, and we need to make sure that we are front and center and holding the people accountable who promised to fund the school formula. If Mr. Murphy is elected, he has promised to do that, and we have a responsibility to hold him to that. And so that's the first part of it. The second part is spending. You know, you need to get your income up and you need to decrease your outgoing expenditures to make sure that the budget operates properly. And you got to focus on spending that money in the ways that give us the best return on our investment. We want good, strong schools and good teachers, and we want our taxes to be used wisely by the board.
Thank you, Shawna. Go ahead, John.
Hi. I'm very disappointed in the present board. I have 19 newspaper articles from your online, Jersey Journal, CBS, and the headlines are very disturbing. Millions of dollars are missing.
You have to speak into the mic, John, please.
Millions of dollars that are missing. The city tax increase almost by 6% that affects 14,000 taxpayers. And then I read in the headlines, so ripped from the headlines, that there are investigations by the prosecutor's office. And the investigation was called on by the mayor, by the local assemblyman, the assembly leader, and even Senator Cunningham called for an investigation into the Bayonne Board of Education's mismanagement of funds. There's been use of money that was not allowed to be used in the budget. And for doing that, we missed out, I believe, on $4 or $5 million that we would have got back from the state of New Jersey. These are all headlines, ripped from the headlines. These investigations are being currently, I believe, in progress with the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office, along with the State Board of Education auditors. And I, too, call for an investigation into these allegations. But millions of dollars are missing, not on one time. It all started in 2000.
Thank you, John. Sorry, that's time. Is there any rebuttal from the trustees? Or you want to just continue?
Just continue.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I sit on the finance, actually, and negotiation, and I see all the numbers. There is no mismanagement. Every month, there's a report that comes out, and it's actually available to all the public, and good thing I brought it with me. So if you want to look at it, to see if there's any mismanagement, here's the report. If you don't know how to read it, I could explain it to you. Because I actually sit on the finance and negotiation. I look at this report daily to make sure that everything is going right. There is no mismanagement whatsoever. This is the report, and I can explain it every single page to every single person, word for word. Okay? So right now, we're underfunded. We're underfunded by $10 million. The budget is not funded right. That's why this is happening. We're figuring out different ways how to solve this problem without burdening the taxpayers. Every single day, every single week, we have meetings, and the finance team sits together, and how can we move on? We took over the launch program, and we generated money. We applied for grants. We tried to help out the taxpayers any possible way we can. And the way to do it is to actually look at this report. I don't know how many people actually looked at this report, and if anybody wants to take a look at it, it's right here. So, and I think the best way to help is to actually look at this report and understand this report and see that there is no mismanagement.
Thank you, Cal. Go ahead, Anthony.
I've actually sat down with Board of Ed Accountant and Business Administrator Leo Smith.
Anthony, just move the mic closer, please.
I've actually sat down and went over line for line with the budget and pointed out stuff that honestly they even missed in their own budget, with percentages being off and numbers being very high. So one thing is to trim the fat where you can. I mean, obviously I'm big in athletics and all that, but we spend almost $1 million in coaches' salaries each year. It's actually about $900,000, but that's an area where, you know, I volunteer my time. So there's a lot of people that will just volunteer that you don't have to have paid assistants for so many positions. But at the same time, you know, you also got to utilize all the resources available. I brought up to Mr. Smith through Mr. Charlie Erosa from the Bayonne Rangers that Wagner College is interested in using our rink as their home rink. And he actually did put it, and Mr. Lewin is on the finance committee, he confirmed it actually was brought up. That's something that will help with lower maintenance costs of the rink and generating more income with concessions and stuff. We have to take advantage of all of the resources that are available. But the biggest thing is, yes, the funding, which everybody else has already talked about, so I'm not going to drive that to the grave. But settling a contract with the teachers more than just 2 years, because you're still in contract negotiations, And in that budget, one of the line items that stood out was we spent almost $375,000 in legal fees each year. And a lot of that is all because of the fact that we're in negotiations every year. One of the big things that I want to push for is at least a 5-year contract with the teachers based on what we can afford, because then you get
That's
out of
not
negotiations.
Thank you. Trustee Munoz.
Thank you. Let me first address Mr. Grupo. I want to point out to everybody in this room and watching online that the newly elected board was the ones that found the financial mismanagement. We were the ones that found it. Blaming the newly elected board for that is like blaming the doctor who finds cancer in your body. It's not his fault, he found it. This financial mismanagement was going on for years before we got there, okay? So I just need to make that clear. What we need is, what we have now is oversight. We have a group of trustees working together. We have a team doing that now. We have a finance committee that's dedicated with trustees like Mike Lawandi and Mary Jane Desmond. They are finding things every day. We know that there was a budget deficit before we got here, and we know that it was plugged with surplus money. The new board didn't do that, the previous board did, okay? We need to increase revenue, okay? Everyone keeps talking about funding. Well, yeah, we are funded. We recently got $2.3 million from the state as a deal worked out by Senator Sweeney and Assemblyman Prida. But that was only for $2.3 million. People seem to forget we are still underfunded by $7.9 million. All right, so we have to increase that funding. We have to, utilize our facilities any way we can. Rent out our facilities, rent it out to production companies. I remember when I went to high school, there was always something being filmed at Bayonne High School, and we don't have that anymore. We need to increase our revenues through our facilities, and technology is huge. We need to reduce waste. If you're a parent in this district, if you're a teacher in this district, you know you have to fill out forms 3 times.
That's time, trustee.
Okay, thank you.
Obviously, everybody here has a good,
Please move the mic closer.
I am going to be new at this, but the budget is one of the most important things. The contracts, the maintenance of the buildings, everybody has their own good ideas to bring in every little pieces of the puzzle. I'm here to run with them, not against them, or have any negativity. We want positivity going forward, and no other distractions. I am new. I'm going to be new. I don't know anything about the budget yet.
All right, thank you, Danny. So just 2 quick housekeeping things. I mean, you mentioned it a couple of times. Could you guys all just try to remember to speak into a mic? I mean, everybody was pretty audible, pretty easy to hear. But just want to remind you, just try to speak into the mic so that our live viewers can make sure they understand what's going on. And number 2, just let me reiterate that if you guys want to do a rebuttal, it's an additional 30 seconds on top of the minute 30 you have to answer. So anyone's free to rebuttal anyone else's response. So I just wanted to make that as clear as possible before we move on. So with that in mind, we'll go to the next question. After the new school funding formula was approved in Trenton this summer, Bayonne saw approximately $3.2 million infused into their budget. With a number of lingering budgetary concerns that need to be addressed, where do you think this extra money should be prioritized? And we're going to start with Charlotte this time.
I believe that all of the money in the budget should be prioritized on 2 things: teachers, students. If the budget is not serving the students of the school, it's not serving anyone in this district. Our teachers need a fair contract. They need a long-term contract. They need to not have their contracts be a political football used when it suits someone to bring it up. We're losing good teachers because we do not have a contract that makes them comfortable where they feel like they can come in and raise their families. If we have extra money in the budget, quite frankly, I think we need to look at
Mic
how...
closer, please. Please, I'm sorry that I have to keep insisting because we do have a live audience and people are responding. They're having a hard time hearing. So you just need to make sure the mic is as close as you possibly can to you while you're speaking, okay?
Okay. So I do believe that we should be spending the money on our teachers and our teachers' contract and our students. That is where we should be spending most of our money. We should be looking at ways to enrich that contract and make it possible for a teacher in years 1 through 8 to make more than $1,600 in raises. You can't raise a family on $1,600 in raises over the course of 8 years. And when these teachers get out of college and they come to the district and they start teaching and they get their feet under them, all of a sudden they are in a space where they want to get married, they want to have kids, they want to buy a house. We want them to be in this town. And we give them $1,600 in raises over a course of 8 years. It's not feasible. So any extra money that we have should go toward a teacher's contract. It should shore up their life, and then it would then benefit us in morale and better student outcomes. Because our teachers are happy,
That's
our
time,
students
Sharon.
are happy.
Thank you.
$3.2 million extra money. Let's give it to the teachers. Let's rehire as part of the 281 teachers that were fired with this present board through mismanagement of funds. They can state anything that they want. It's all ripped from the headlines. You guys get the information and you write it in the story. I'm reading from your headlines. I'm reading your storyline from your headlines. This wasn't an imaginary thing. This was mismanagement of funds, plain and simple. I would hire the teachers back. Yeah, they did hire some back, but they didn't hire them all. But what a devastating travesty that they've done on 281 employees, dedicated employees. We're never going to see new people that want to come into this school system. All right? With the fact that the school system does not know how to manage its money. And that's a shame in itself. I want to give the teachers a good contract with longevity. Not for 1 year, not for 2 years, but for years. Because I want to produce a happy teacher. A happy teacher will produce more results in the classroom. So I am glad that the state people gave $3.2 million in extra money. That they've been saying it's been underfunded. If they knew they've been underfunded all these years, they should have been cutting programs to adjust. Because you can't spend more money than you take in.
That's time, John. Thank you. And Trustee Munoz wanted to rebut.
So, Mr. Kupo, we're talking about headlines, I just wanted to rebut that for 30 seconds and say, you're right, a lot of these things were plucked from the headlines. Like the insistence of the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office getting involved. That was a headline that was put forth, by our mayor. Everybody here has watched an episode of Law and Order, and what happens at the beginning of every episode of Law and Order? Well, a crime is first committed. All right, we don't know if a crime was first committed, so you can't call the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office to do that. All right, that's what the audit's about. Once the state comes back with an audit, if there's any wrongdoing that is done, we will handle it. All right, there will be trustees in this room that will be the first one to call the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office to get that under
Stop,
control.
Chris.
Thank you.
Rebuttal?
Sure, John, go ahead.
Sure. Now, from what I understand,
Speaking to the mic, John.
from September the 20th newspaper, ripped from the headline. That's what we can call it that.
Okay.
The report should be coming out from the state auditors.
Yes.
And unless it's already out, and
Mid-November.
mid-November now. Well, the newspaper didn't quite get that right. But
Different headlines.
you should have reduced the budget. You should reduce your spending.
All right. Thank you, John. Again?
We have reduced our spending. I think that we have. I think that the trustees last spring made a lot of difficult decisions, a lot of things that, we didn't want to do. But we have reduced our spending and we have got the budget under control. That was the whole point of this. That was the whole point of this audit, to find out what happened to that mismanagement before we got there.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Let's move on. Mikhail?
Yeah. All right, so the money that we received, we actually worked together as a team. Chris, myself, and the other 7 trustees that we had, and we worked together as a team and hired back as many teachers as we could hire back to basically control the classroom sizes. And right now we have everything under control, and we have an audit that's going on, and we're waiting for the audit to come in mid-November so we can continue seeing what we're going to do with our actual money. And again, there's there's this right here, which is the board secretary report, and it'll tell you everything. It will tell you everything and how we are spending our money. And we actually take our money and we gave it to the teachers, and we were able to hire back we're only missing 12 teachers right now, out of the 287 actually. It's not 282, it's 287. And there's only 12 teachers that are missing, that's all. And we used our money for that reason.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I mean, before we call it extra money, I would want to see the report and the audit and see exactly what happened, what we're actually dealing with. Because the audit could come back with saying that we actually don't have as much. I mean, we're saying it's extra, but Trustee Munoz mentioned before that we're still short from the funding. So before you commit to saying, yes, we'll do this with this funding, I would want to see what funds we actually have and then work towards it. I mean, obviously the first thing that anybody's going to say, because the main priority is the students, is getting the teachers settled so that the teachers are comfortable. So I mean, before we say that it's extra money, I'd like to see the whole audit and see what is actually there before we make a stance on what we would do with it.
Thanks, Anthony. Chris?
Okay. So, headline, Bayonne, second most underfunded district in the state. That's a headline that I also read. Okay, so the funding is huge. I keep on saying this. We are 7.9 million still underfunded. And recently before that, the past 5 years before that, we were 51 million underfunded from the state over a period of 5 years. How does a district recover from that? $51 million lost, $51 million towards programs, towards facilities improvements, towards teachers' contracts. It is a very difficult thing to recover from, and I think that we've done a great job trying to get to that point. The funding is huge. It's 40% of our tax bill, you know? I mean, the state has to pay its fair share. We're putting an increased burden on the Bayonne taxpayer, and that is unbelievable. We have to advocate for our funding. We have to hold our elected officials accountable that they're advocating for their funding, which I believe they are. You know, we have to fight for that, and you know, we have to hold this board accountable and make sure that we're doing everything we can to fight for that funding. You know, we have to stop treating the Bayonne taxpayer like they're a printing press for cash. You know, and was that the original question, by the way? Because with all the headline talk, I forgot the question. It's funding.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, it was.
All right. But you know what? I do plan to continue advocating for funding. Whether I get reelected on November 7th or not, I'm going to call, I'm going to continue writing, and I'm going to continue fighting this fight, regardless whether I'm there or not. Funding is huge, and we have to get that under control. Thank you.
Thank you. Danny, go ahead.
Accountability, whatever the report comes out, let the chip fall over there.
All right, fair enough. All right, so you guys, we all have been talking about the teacher's contract, so I know some of you kind of answered this already, but I'm going to ask it anyway. The Bayonne teachers have been without a contract for 5 months, something that is not uncommon in the school district. What preventative measures could be undertaken in order to ensure that the teacher's contract is resolved in a quicker, more definitive fashion in the future? And we're going to start with John. I got a feeling you have a lot to say on this one. Yes.
I'm glad to speak to all that are in attendance this evening and everyone that's viewing. I totally support the teachers and I support longevity in the contract. If there are any teachers in attendance who are employed or any teachers who did not get rehired, I'll fix that. The board will rehire you. But on a different note, I remember when I was a child, to show appreciation for children, for the teachers, the children would bring their teacher an apple. I brought a crate of apples for all the teachers that are in attendance and anyone else that want to participate in an apple. Because that's teacher appreciation.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Raquel?
Absolutely.
All right, with the teachers negotiation,
Very good. Very cordial, John.
I gotta wash it.
Safety first.
I gotta wash it, all right? Thank you.
All right, go right ahead.
All right, with the teachers and contract and negotiation, we actually met with the teacher union president twice so far. And as of right now, we are waiting for the report from the state audit. And as of right now, we're working to see our numbers, and once the numbers comes out, I just want to give the teachers a fair contract. Whatever we could afford, that's what I want to do. So.
All right, thank you. I mean, as I stated in my, earlier about, my goal is a 5-year contract. All right, now, what type of contract that is, like Mikhail said, it's based on the audit report and what we actually have. So it needs to be the board and the teachers union coming together, sitting down, and saying, look, this is what we can afford to do to give you a 5-year deal. It may not be the best deal, but it's something that could be a 5-year term to where you're not worrying about your contract, you're not worrying about being in negotiations constantly, and it's something where you can rest easy that in 5 years, hopefully we can solve whatever issues that the audit finds and be in a better position to when the next contract comes up, we're able to offer more. But I mean, you can't offer more than what you can do because then you're going to be right back in the same spot. So like I said, my goal is a 5-year. It's enough to have everybody get some breathing room, recoup, fix whatever financial situations need to be fixed, and come back to the table with a better deal.
All right, Trustee Williams?
So the BTA's been out of contract since July 1st, and, this lack of agreement affects, the students first and then foremost, the teachers, but also the community as a whole. If qualified teachers keep on leaving this district for other ones, we're losing quality teachers. We're eroding our teaching base, and then that will lead to an erosion of the school district, which will have an effect on property values and even higher taxes. So this is a community problem. The BTA is an amazing group of professionals, and they give their all, on a daily basis. I know that not just from working with teachers on the board, but my kids' teachers. I mean, they've been amazing. I've been blessed to have some great teachers. The fact is the teacher salary guide is a mess, okay? We have to really get that under control. There is no reason why a first-year teacher should only be making between steps 1 and 10 is only a $2,000 raise. That is just a shame. We really need to do that. The BTA leadership needs to work with the board and vice versa for an amicable solution, and one of those solutions is the restructuring of the guide, and get it done. And to answer your question, John, about what we can do better, after this audit comes in, after we get our numbers back from the state and we know what's happening with our numbers, I propose that the board and the BTA meet once a week, not once a month, not once every 3 months. They meet once a week until we get a contract and get it done.
Thank you, Trustee. Danny?
Well, the money that we got, or you guys got, it was already used up. So there is no extra money. As far as the contracts, I am not prepared yet to discuss any negotiations for the teachers, which is very important.
Okay.
Can I rebut?
Yeah, but have another 30 seconds.
How about
Go ahead. Please rebut.
Yeah, there is no extra money because we're underfunded. We were underfunded, and we were underfunded actually $10 million. No, I'm talking.
Okay.
So there is no extra money. And then, actually, my opinion, I sat with the union president every week until the last contract was settled. And I agree with you, Chris. I think we should continue once we get the report, but that also goes back to the union president if he wants to sit with me every single week until we settle the contract. And that's what I intend on doing. Thank you.
Can I rebut that?
Sure.
Should I rebut his rebut?
Yeah, of course.
And I agree with Trustee Lamani, and I believe that he will sit with the BTA president once a week. But you know what? You're saying that you hope he does. It doesn't matter. Get it done. Make sure that he sits with you. You have to be insistent in making sure this gets done. I believe you will. I just want to put it out there. You just can't say I hope. No, he's got to be there. We all got to get this done once a week. We cannot drag this out for months and months and months like it's happened before.
Thank you.
Can I rebut that?
Sure.
That big word that everyone uses, underfunded. Underfunded from which amount? 127 million? Now, in my experience, there's always a 5, 7, or 10% reductions that can be made in each and every budget. So if they're talking about $7 million that they need to go forward, why don't we look for a reduction of 5% of $127 million? That's about $6 to $7 million we can do with just...
That's fine, Joe.
Can I rebut that?
Yeah.
I just want to make Mr. Cupo aware that the newly elected board, we actually did that. We did cut everything. You know, once we found out there was a financial crisis and there was financial mismanagement that we discovered, we cut everything, every line item, almost from 5 to 10%. So cutting an additional 5 to 7% would be suicide, because right now we are operating on some line items with the bare minimum, just to keep the schools open, you know, to pay, pay salaries, to pay health benefits, to put the lights on. So we've actually done our due diligence and we have cut more than 5%.
Can I rebut that?
No, let's move on. Yeah, let's move on. Sorry, guys. But I think that's plenty. Maria,
Teacher contract.
Yes, actually,
You're gonna ask me a question again? Go.
yeah, I'll ask it again. So the Bayonne teachers have been without a contract for 5 months, something that is not uncommon in the school district. What preventative measures can be undertaken in order to ensure that the teacher's contract is resolved in a quicker, more definitive fashion in the future? And, you know, I made a boo-boo. I forgot to give you your time last time, so next time that happens to any of you, you can throw an apple at my head and I won't throw it back. So yeah, you have some extra time. You can speak a little freely.
Okay. Teachers' contracts in every city are a problem. We also provide a service to the city, like firemen, like policemen. But yet, fireman contracts, policeman contracts are always done on time. The difference is, in my view, as I've seen it, policemen, firemen, 80%, 90% male. Teacher contract, teachers, we're 80% and more women. So this is much of a problem. And that is something that we have to watch. We have to be able to give our teachers contracts that they can build their lives on. If they can't build their lives and they're struggling, that translates to our children in our classrooms. Because when we go home and you're spreading that dollar till it can't spread anymore, you come into school, you're frustrated, your focus is not 100% on those children. And that's where we need our teachers. We also need our teachers to stay with us, because we're losing quality teachers to these districts, to other districts, because they do get better contracts. We have to make sure that we're able to support our teachers and that they stay, that they are part of our community, and that they bring their families up here, because when a teacher lives in the community and she's part of the community, she cares so much about those children in that classroom because they're part of her. So, with that contract, we need to extend those contracts. We need to start negotiating those contracts before the contract expires, so that when the contract expires, we have something on the table that we can take that the union can take to its members, and we have time to make adjustments if the union body does not support that specific contract. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. All right, I'm glad the audience is paying attention. Charlotte, please.
So the contract is not just a function of the current budget situation. I've lived in Bayonne for nearly 8 years, and for as long as I've known, the contract has been an issue. It's not just this budget, this time. It's the last budget. It's the time before that. It's the contracts before that. And the issue really appears to be that a contract is negotiated, it comes to an end, and something happens, and then all of a sudden we're going to negotiate another contract, but the contract is ended before we've actually started. So your question was, what do you do differently? One, I would seek to be on the committee that negotiates contracts. I do that as in my professional life. I would try to do that on the board. I would like to see us negotiate contracts more effectively, much earlier in the process, so that we can address things. I think that solves a major issue. It can't always be under the gun, and it can't be after the teachers are about to be fired or laid off because we don't have money to pay them. We have to do it proactively, and we have to address it sooner in the process. And just stop this constant attack on the teacher's contract. It's tiring. It's exhausting, quite frankly. And I'm not even a teacher. I'm a parent who deals with a kid who has to deal with the strife of what happens with his teachers in his classroom getting moved around because budget issues come up. It's not right.
Thank you, Charlotte. All right, so, next question. Former high school principal Michael Wanko took over as interim superintendent on July 1st and can only serve in his role for a maximum of 2 years. What steps do you believe need to be taken in order for Bayonne to get the best superintendent possible for the future going forward? And we're going to start with Trustee Lawandi.
So former Superintendent Dr. Wanko took over right now, and he's an intern. So that means he could be there up to 2 years. As of right now, he has a 1-year contract, and then we have to extend it to another year. The best way to actually search for a superintendent, I think, to put a nationwide superintendent search and to see who we're going to hire and then to actually interview with them. I was on an interview committee with Dr. Wanko, and right now I'm going to probably be on the interview committee with the superintendent, because to be on the committee, you have to have no conflict of interest, which means you have to have nobody in the school working in the school district that's a family member. And right now, when you hire a new superintendent, you could give them a 3-year contract up to 5 years and no longer than 5 years. And that's something that you would know with experience, and just wanted to say that.
All right, you go ahead.
When I attended a meeting a couple months ago, that was one of the things that I actually brought up, was what are we currently doing, since we only have Dr. Wanko on a short amount of time. And he seems to be a very, very good person to pick up the slack from what we were just dealing with. And the action was everybody was waiting for the audit to come back. I'm glad that some steps have been made, but I feel we dropped the ball in the sense that we should have been starting as soon as Dr. Wanko came in to start that nationwide search, because we just lost a summer of being able to interview these superintendents. And now we only have 1 summer really to sit down and meet with these guys. Because realistically, do you want somebody that's going to leave their school during the school year to come meet for another job? I know if I left my company during the workday to go interview for another job, that doesn't look well. So we lost a summer of being able to interview potential candidates. And we didn't start. And I feel like that's something that we need to start right away. And I'm glad that there is progress towards it. But it's got to be where we get something moving, and Dr. Wanko needs to be involved in it, because the way that he's structuring the school district, to me, is the right direction, and it needs to be something that can continue that and improve on it.
Thank you, Anthony. Trustee Munoz?
So we were thankful to find someone of Dr. Wanko's caliber to be the interim superintendent of schools. I agree that this is of paramount importance to the new board. As a matter of fact, the people here will be, whoever they select from this dais on Tuesday, will be an integral part of actually selecting the new superintendent. I agree with Trustee Lawandi and a couple of other people who say we need a nationwide search. I'm looking for the best qualified candidate to lead the Bayonne Public Schools into the future, not the best qualified candidate necessarily 3 doors down, okay? I think we need to bring someone in, and this is a huge decision because their leadership could actually mold the district for the next 10 to 15 years. We need to bring someone into the district that has a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. You know, we've had that for a while. We need someone who's going to be able to think outside the box. I don't think we've lost time, because we do have Dr. Wanko as an interim superintendent for at least until June or July 1, and we are able to extend that by 1 year, and all accounts looks like we may do that because so far he's doing a fantastic job. So I think that we need to be prudent and cautious and take our time picking the next educational leader of this district. Thank you.
Thanks, Trustee. Danny?
The procedure to get a new superintendent nationwide should be started immediately. So you have some candidates for this summer, like he mentioned.
Okay, thank you. Maria?
In finding a new superintendent, we must find someone who, in my opinion, understands the vital importance of primary education as the foundation of learning for all our children in the city of Bayonne. We talk about someone from out of state or out of town, out of city. I've worked in districts where we've had that. Those were the most ineffective superintendents we had, because they did not understand the cultures of our school, the culture of our city. Also, we need a superintendent who understands, who has a vision, not just for today, but for tomorrow, in the changes that are coming to the city, and is able to grow with those changes. We need to find a superintendent who understands the rigors needed in order to educate our children for this 21st century globalized economy that our children need to compete in for the future. And also, just to say, I also don't have any conflicts. I can be on a committee to choose a superintendent. I do not have any family members that work in the city. I do not belong to the NGA. I belong to American Federation of Teachers as well. So I have no conflicts at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, please.
Okay, so I just want to point out, when we say national search, we don't mean that the next superintendent necessarily will not come from Bayonne. We don't know that, but we want to widen our options. You know, we want to look outside of the peninsula. And if the best candidate emerges that happens to be from Bayonne, then that's great. That's good for the community. I also sat on the superintendent search, and I think I could be integral in that arena. I think, like I said, Dr. Michael being here gives us time. It gives us time and an option not to rush a very important decision. Thank you.
Charlotte, please.
So superintendent hiring is something that I've talked about quite a bit, actually. I think that we are hiring the CEO of a $130 million company with thousands of employees. My business experience is in hiring people. In order to effectively hire someone and have a good hire in the big picture, you have to have a strategic plan and vision. You have to be able to explain exactly what you want that new hire to be able to do and accomplish. The board does not have a strategic plan and vision laid out very clearly to where a person that is going to come in and take over this $130 million enterprise that we have going here can operate. They don't have a good sense of direction. So the first thing that needs to happen is you have to have a strategic plan built. You have to know what's going to happen in the next 2, 5, 10 years with this district. We have 18 months left to hire a CEO of this company. That's the bottom line. It takes me 6 to 10 months to find good hires of qualified candidates in my regular job. Every single day when I'm hiring people, it's hard to source candidates. We're wasting time doing it. We need a good strategic plan. We need a hiring plan that says you are going to not only present to the board, you're going to present to the public, you are going to do X, Y, and Z. You're going to explain all of these aspects of the job, whatever they are, and you have to build this structure. So that structure should have already been built in the last 6 months, and then we need to start looking for that candidate.
That's not
We're
true.
behind.
Thank you. John, go ahead.
In regards to the new superintendent, I want to say, before I get into that, I had no conflict myself. I could sit on any board within the trustees. I don't have the benefit of being a sitting member since 2015, 16, and now 17. So we're talking like 30-something odd months that they've had a leg up in all this experience that they've had, because they came in as newbies. I'd have to defer to the work that they have done already on the search, already, and maybe look a little bit further. But maybe the search uncovered the right person, and maybe the existing superintendent is the right person to continue if he wants to. But they have a leg up on me. I'd have to defer with their experience of a superintendent search, and then take it from there.
All right, thanks, John. Okay, so now we are going to talk on a different element of school funding. We're going to talk about pilot agreements. Excuse me. So, currently the city of Bayonne gives the school district 5% of payment in lieu of taxes, better known as pilot agreements. Do you find that figure to be efficient? Why or why not? So we're going to start with Anthony.
I don't find that efficient. I mean, I know that the school board's going to present the budget and the city has to fund that budget, but at the same time, I believe the traditional formula is 40% of property taxes is for the school. So you just rob 35% of school earmarked money from the residents of Bayonne. Myself being a homeowner, it doesn't work. You're now giving 5% off or something, that's it. If you stick with the 40 or even work a little bit lower, work something more fair like a 25%, you at least will have that money that's earmarked for the school. The city owes the budget no matter what. But then you have that extra. That extra is something that can be used towards the contracts, towards the facilities. Now, mind you, we're 3 years behind in our 5-year maintenance plan. Our facilities are horrible. They really are. They're 100-year-old buildings. You can't expect much from them. But you're taking away from the students and the community by only giving them 5% on a pilot agreement. It makes no sense.
So I understand that the mantra in the city has been build, baby, build, and that's fine. You know, change is good, growth is good. But what are we getting for our tax abatements? What is the Bayonne taxpayer as an individual getting for the tax abatements? So I'm not a fan of them. I think that if we are going to give a tax abatement, we need to treat it like traditional tax revenue and split it, 40% municipal, 40% school, 20% county. The problem is that when the city council agrees to give out a tax abatement, there's no place for a trustee on that board to say how this adversely affects education. There's no seat at the table for us. In addition, you know, if we're going to get tax abatements, we got to stop talking about pilots and we have to start talking about something I call pilots, a facility in lieu of taxes. Okay, if a developer's getting a huge tax break, all right, we need projects done in the school because of our stretched budget. Let a developer come in and do something positive for the schools. Mary Jane needs a new schoolyard. Lincoln Community School needs, you know, air conditioning in their common room. Horace Mann needs a new roof. So why don't these developers come in and actually do these jobs and do a facility in lieu of taxes? Jersey City's doing it. They got a brand new police station. They got a brand new school. Why can't we do that in Bayonne? What I will say is that Anthony is correct. All right, our school average is about 100 years old. It's actually 85. If you take a Resco and Midtown now, it's 85 years old. Okay, we need repairs, and if there's any developer that is getting tax abatements from the city of Bayonne, contact me. We have stuff that if you want to donate your time, contact me. I have a list. We can get it done.
That's fine, trustee. Thank you. Go ahead, Danny.
Tax abatements are for the rich, like Mr. Chris Nunez said. Developers, they fix a little park, a little corner, they fix one street, one pothole.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Pilots. A lot of buildings that are having that new construction that is set for pilots are mostly 1 and 2 bedroom apartment complexes, which don't raise the number of children as much as 3-bedroom apartments or townhouses do. According to the state funding formula, it correlates, the money they give us correlates to the amount on our tax books that we are getting, that we are receiving. By having the pilots or abatements in there, they are not on our tax books, so our funding from the state does not decrease. If we have these new constructions and we are charging them the correct tax, the funding from our state will decrease because there's direct correlation to that. That's how the formula works.
John, take it easy. Thank you.
That's how can I finish?
Yes, please.
That's how the state formula funding works. Can we ask developers to do more for our schools? Yes, like Jersey City asks and gets things, but we don't have that type of development in Bayonne yet. We do not have these structures built and people moving here. Once we have it to the level of Jersey City, of course, you must ask them to do things for our city, and starting with the schools is the best place to start because we do have very old buildings in the city of Bayonne. Thank you.
Rewind that for just a second.
Sure, go ahead with the rebuttal.
So I understand when they say that the apartments don't bring students to the school, but I'll give you an example. A person has a really beautiful house across the street from the park, and it is less expensive to go and rent one of those apartments in Park Bayonne than it is to pay their taxes. So what they do is they sell their house to a family, an up-and-coming family, with 3 or 4 kids, maybe 2 or 3 kids coming in, and they move into that apartment building. And I think we're going to see that a lot with seniors.
That's not true.
The students did come from that, and they will.
We've got a lot of reporting to do here.
I mean, the other thing also is we can say that these 1 or 2 bedrooms aren't going to bring families and impact their schools. I had my first kid in a 1-bedroom apartment. I had my my second kid in that same one-bedroom apartment. I moved to buy a house in Henry Harris District because to me that was the school that my son goes to, and that's the best school there. But I think it's very naive to say that a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment isn't going to bring students. I'm the type of person that this city is trying to attract. I work in New York City. I came here because my wife told me it was a great commute in town, and it is. So I'm the type that is what is being attracted right now. I'm the young, I'm living in the city, or working in the city, and I put my family here.
That's fine.
I did that in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Okay.
Yeah, let Maria go first.
When we have the pilots, it's not that they're not paying any tax to the city. They are paying tax to the city. So the land that we have where these projects were built, some of those were paying minimal tax, and they will continue to pay taxes to the city. So we do not lose the tax base that we already have. And as you said, you started in a 1-bedroom apartment, and now you bought a house that is paying full tax, and you've started your family. In order to attract more people like you, well, we're trying to bring, the city's bringing the apartments in for that reason.
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so, just to rebut that, when a developer knocks down an existing structure and they get a tax abatement, they're not paying any taxes until the certificate of occupancy has been issued by the city. So that could lead anywhere up to 5 years, So as long as that property is empty, they're not getting any money in. So we are losing, property tax. And how anyone on this dais can predict the meeting habits of citizens of Bayonne is beyond me. Because you know what? When you increase the building, you know what? People are going to come. With people, will come, and you know what? They're bringing their kids.
That's time, Chris, that's time.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Shari.
It appears to me that we need to give abatements to get development in town. I want development in town, and if that's the way to attract the developers, then we need to do that. The issue I personally have with it is 30-year abatements for residential facilities. If you did 30-year abatements for commercial facilities, it might be a different thing, and 15-year abatements for residential facilities. The fact is that we are shortchanging our schools for the next 3 decades when we give out 30-year abatements. We can't predict what the tax rate will be, but we all know a reval is coming, and we all can assume taxes and property taxes are going to go up. The fact is that if I give you an abatement today, then that reval comes in 6 months. Your tax rate is what you are paying at the time of the abatement, not what the reval is. So there are decades of shortchanging going on here in those buildings. And there's no recourse to go and change those tax rates to reflect what the reval is, what I'm going to pay or what every other taxpayer in this town is going to pay. And I don't think we should shortchange our schools and our teachers for the next 3 decades for residential buildings.
Go ahead, John.
There were so many rebuts. What was the question?
It's fair enough. Currently, the city of Bayonne gives the school district 5% of payment in lieu of taxes, better known as pilot agreements. Do you find that figure to be, I said efficient, I guess it should have been sufficient. Why or why not?
Well, I'm going to say a nasty thing, that abatements to make the city grow are a necessary thing for the city to develop itself. I believe 30 years is too long. I believe 15 to 20 years on any abatement. I believe the pilot amount should equal what Jersey City has asked for, and that's at 10% and not 5%. And maybe the city council should re-examine their own figures and up it. Now, I'm not quite sure if that 5% that we get now goes straight to the school board in addition to what they request. I don't know. I have to defer to the finance minister.
No.
So how do we get the 5%?
John, can you please just answer the question?
How do we get the 5% out from the city on the abatements? That's my question.
Okay. Raquel, would you care to respond, or would you like to?
After I answer, can I respond?
Yeah. All right, proceed.
All right. So I think abatements are not necessary in Bayonne. Because I think we're the only city that's left on the Hudson that's not developed. I honestly don't think abatements are necessary. I think they're gonna come in, they're gonna develop the city, no matter what. And then after that, to give 30 years, 20 years, 15, 10, I don't think that's necessary at all. And then to say that we're not gonna have kids with the schools and with the apartments that we're building, I think there was one development that had 1,200 units. Can we say at least 10% of that are gonna have kids? And you could imagine how many, what's the number of kids? And then after that, you have to multiply times $14,000 for each kid that we're gonna have, because that's how much it costs us to actually educate each kid, each student. And if we're gonna give abatements or we're gonna give a percentage, then we have to do smart development. And smart development, if we're gonna let somebody develop 1,200 units, then maybe we could tell them, build a pre-K, build a school, build something for our school district, and give us a higher percentage. And as of right now, what happens is when we give them the abatements, the taxpayers that are going to pay are the homeowners. There's 11,340 homes in Bayonne. And it's going to get divided between the homeowners, and that's who is going to pay for the students that are coming in. So I think right now, I think we have to reevaluate it and look at it a little bit different, and I think we deserve our fair share.
All right.
So I'm going to do one more question, and then we're going to take some audience questions. So let me just give a little preface on that. Please, if you're going to ask a question, you got to direct it at the whole board. No personal attacks. Let's stay on topic. But other than that, you can basically ask whatever you want. So, all right. So last one. I think I saved the best for last, but I'll leave that up to you folks. So it's no secret that in Hudson County, a lot of people, and there's a lot of evidence that boards of education are used as patronage mills. Do you believe that there are too many patronage jobs in the Bayonne Board of Education? And if yes, how do you think we can solve that problem? We'll start with Trustee Munoz.
Thanks.
Welcome.
It's no secret that the Bayonne Public Schools has been a patronage mill for years. For years. It's no secret. It's not like I'm saying anything new that anyone watching at home or in this room doesn't know. I like to believe that when the newly elected board got there, we stopped that. I would like to say that we have curtailed that. But you know, with that also comes the fact that this is a community school. So, you know, this is a public school of a tight-knit community. You know what? People are bound to have relatives that work there. So I don't want to say it's so much of a bad thing, but yeah, patronage mills in the sense of political influence, absolutely. It's absolutely something that has happened and something that I think needs to stop. And I think that to curtail that, you need to have candidates that are independent on the school board. I think that, you know, you have to keep the influence of City Hall, the state assemblyman, and any other political faction, whether it be any side of any argument anywhere in the city, out of the schools to have independent candidates.
Thanks, Trustee Danny. Go
I
ahead.
am not affiliated with any political party, well, not party, but persons in Bayonne. I'm independent. This is supposed to be independent. It said, I read it someplace, I don't know who wrote it. It says, keep the politics out of the board. Oh,
Very perceptive. Yes.
When we're choosing candidates, when we're choosing teachers, administrators to work with our children, we should always choose the best qualified candidate, not the friend or the family member of someone that works in the system. That's my belief. As people know, I am on a ticket that was supported. I believe that I was supported because they believe I was a good candidate. That's the reason. I am an independent thinker. I've shown that as my participation on the planning board, on numerous votes that have gone against what others were for. And I will continue to do that. My priority is always children. I've been advocating for children for 23 years, and that's never going to change. I am not a strict follow the line Democrat. I was a Berner. I'm a Bernie Sanders person, so I'm completely off the line. But I'm an independent thinker. I vote my conscience. And when it comes to children, when it comes to teachers, I do not bend for anyone. I stand strong and defend them.
Go ahead, John.
Well, I do think it's important that the Board of Ed not be a patronage mill. I think that a good way to curtail that situation is have pretty well-defined org charts. I can't go on the Board of Ed website and find an org chart. There should be disclosure. I think that from a teacher perspective, if a teacher raises a child in the district, that district goes to college, gets their teaching degree, comes back and becomes a teacher and works their way through, I think that's good for our community. We want that. I think it's good for our kids. But when you start putting administrators in and you start putting in people in higher levels, I think there has to be a real open dialogue about who they're related to, how they got there, and what their educational background is. And it needs to be done not in a back room somewhere, but out and open in front of the entire community so that everybody understands. The most qualified candidate should get the job. And just because I'm related to someone doesn't necessarily mean I'm not qualified. But if you know going in, I'm related to this person, and I still earn that job, then I should be able to do that. So I think that's important.
Family on the board. Well, that probably will become a thing of the past. If elected, I will look out for any family members, but if they're qualified and they live local and we can't fill it, maybe they should get the job, or they should get the job. But we cannot change what's there already. We can't go out and blank firing all the teachers that are related that are in the school system. So I would say going forward, we'll look out for that patronage type of hiring and discontinue that practice.
All right, John, thanks a lot. Trustee Lalonde?
All right, the person that I think said to keep politics out of the board, I think is Eva Trinity. She's a trustee, and she really, really believes in that. By the way, just letting you know. She's in the back right now. All right, I think hiring the way it was before, it might have been that, but right now we're completely different. We're running a completely new structure, and you have to be qualified to actually get the job. And I really do believe that you need to keep politics out of the board, because if politics comes in the board, you owe that person something. And that's the problem with actually having somebody being backed by somebody else, because you owe that person something. There's a lot of money that comes with it, and there's a lot of flyers, and there's a lot of ads that go out with that, but because that person is backing you up. So I really do believe that you need to keep politics out of the board. And as of right now, I think that question, we are addressing it, and we are only hiring qualified people. And
I think one of the big things with myself being obviously the newcomer in this race is that nobody knows me, so I'm not tied to anybody. I don't have anybody backing me up. Obviously, you haven't seen too much done. I literally printed flyers, and that's it. I don't have anybody walking around, coming up to my door, wearing a different shirt, handing out a different flyer. So I don't have that. I don't have that backing, so I'm not tied to anybody or any belief system that is instilled in it. The way that I feel the hiring should be done, and if it's being done now, then great, is no name should be involved. It should all be the merit of the job. Look, I'm not going to lie. I got to where I am because a family member opened the door. He didn't push me through it. He didn't guide me in. He opened the door and said, here you go, that's it. That's what I did. I got the job based on my merit. So I can't say that it's a horrible thing to know somebody, but at the same time, there's a limit of what knowing somebody does. If a door is open and you're the qualified candidate and that person is thinking about it and says, okay, you are, then great. If not, then you move on to the next one. But I think when you're hiring teachers, or you're hiring guidance counselors or administration, it shouldn't be who's related or who needs a job. It should be a blank title block. And just based on your credentials, pick based on that, not who's related to anybody. And I understand that's pay-owned. That's what I've learned over the last 11 years. It happens at City Hall, it happens here, but it's got to stop.
Thank you, Anthony. All right, so you guys have been a great audience so far. I think we've heard a lot of insightful answers up here. So who would be interested in asking a question by show of hands? All right, we're making it very easy. Mike, please come up. Pretty sure everybody knows you. Please introduce yourself for the fun of it.
Good evening, my name is Mike Morris. I'd like to make a comment and then ask a question at the end. You spoke about the tax abatements within the schools, within the city, specifically the 5%. It took a lot of hard work to get that done, but it's still not sufficient. I would like someone from the Board of Ed to be at the city council meetings as a liaison for the Board of Ed to fight for a higher percentage of monies on these tax abatements. 5% is definitely not sufficient. 10% is still not sufficient. It should be 15 to 20%. Now, the city council about a month ago specifically stated that they were going to reduce the tax abatements from 30 years to 25 years. But yet, we still have had, I believe, one meeting where they did pass a 30-year tax abatement. This is where the Board of Ed needs to be. At that meeting, someone from the Board of Ed, you have highly qualified members there, and yet, I've only seen one member in many months. Without naming his name, he did come. I have requested it through this particular person as a member of the Board of Ed, and I still see no one. So I want to see somebody from the Board of Ed as a liaison. I don't care if you have a meeting that night, you can get by with one less member to fight for the taxpayers, for the teachers, for the students. That's why we're going to elect you. So hopefully, I'll see that sometime. Thank you.
So, let's give Mike a round of applause. Very obvious stuff. Before you sit down, just to make sure, the question was, should the Board of Education have a liaison at the City Council when they're voting on a tax abatement? Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're going to start with Danny.
What if it's,
Go ahead, make it a mic.
if it's authorized by the board, and it's okay with the city council, and we have a vote to put in, sure.
Okay?
Excuse me, might I say something?
Okay.
You don't need the city council's approval. You can come as a participating member of the community to sit within the audience, and then get up to make comment. So you don't need the council's approval. You're a taxpayer, you have that right to be there.
But
Go ahead.
representing the board, we're talking about representing the board, not as a private citizen.
You still have the right to sit within the audience.
Yes. I
So there should
understand.
not be a problem there.
All right, but do we have a vote on there? So you put your opinion, put your fight, but does I say no? Does that count on their vote?
No.
All right, so Maria, go ahead.
Yes, I would go to city council meetings and fight for more money from the abatements to come to our schools. I would do that. I'm on the planning board, and within there, when projects come up, I do speak with people saying, how is this project going to affect the system, our school system? Because remember, I am a teacher always, no matter what position I am in, I'm always advocating for the schools and our kids. So when I see those things, I ask simple questions like, how many children would this project bring? How many bedroom apartments are we making? These are questions we ask. And going to council meetings and asking for more money to come to the public school, of course, I would be one of the members that would be there fighting for that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. All right, Joe.
I agree with Maria. I think that if it's possible to go to the board meetings, it's an excellent idea, and I'm not sure why that hasn't been done in the last group of session of meetings in the last year or so. But it's a good idea. There needs to be someone advocating for the interests of the students of Bayonne and for the schools. And there should be some coordination between City Hall and the school board regarding meetings, and not make it impossible to coordinate these things. It's not that hard. Everybody knows when the meetings are. And it should be, the school board should have a voice in that, because we absolutely are a stakeholder in the abatement process.
Thanks, Shonda.
I agree. I agree that one of the board members or two should form and be recognized by the city leaders, and they should be able to lobby all 5 sitting council people and to put that idea into their mind that we come over from the school board and this is what we think should be done to help our school for extra funds. So I'm all in favor of lobbying City Hall, lobbying the council people, and lobbying the mayor himself for a bigger slice of the abatement pie. I'm in total agreement with that.
Thanks, John. Trustee Wandi?
I actually don't think 15 and 20% is enough. I think we deserve our fair share, and I think we should get our 40% to tell the truth. Right? I've been to the council meeting, and I've seen actually them doing the whole abatement. And I don't know if that's the trustee you're talking about, but I've been to the city hall, and I've seen them doing the whole abatement. And I don't know how much that will do if we actually go there and speak up. Because right now we're speaking up, all of us right now, and we spoke up in private, and we sent letters, and we talked about it, and it hasn't done anything. So it has to be reevaluated within the city. We could send messages, we could send mail, we could all go to the actual meeting. We could take a different night, and we'll all be there, and we'll all stand up. But I don't know how much that's going to do. So I don't know what we can do, to tell the truth.
The best message is delivered in person.
I've been there.
For a letter.
I've been there. I was there. I went to
Keep
the...
coming.
Okay.
Just
I
keep
will.
coming.
Continue.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
John? Like,
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, you don't know what can be done, but the answer is not to do nothing.
Well, I've been
I
to
mean,
the-
at the end, I understand, but you're saying, I don't know how much that will do, how good that will do for us, those were your words. You have to do something, you have to be at every meeting, you have to, he has a good point. There has to be an organized approach to that as part of our strategy as a board, to say, you know what, it's not just one person showing up. I'm going to be on that agenda, I'm going to talk about X, Y, and Z, I'm going to have an audience with the council and city hall and everybody else until we get our fair share. But the
That's
answer is
not
not, we can't
Can
do
I
anything.
rebut?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I grew up here my whole life, and then I went to Woodrow Wilson, like I said, and I went to Bayonne High School. And I have tremendous pride of being a Bayonne resident and being from Bayonne. And I sit actually on 5 committees, and I almost have meetings almost every single week. And on top of that, I actually went to the meeting with the council. And I want to continue going to the meeting. But I really do think that it takes more than just one person. I think it takes a group, and we have to show what we stand for. And I said that that's not enough. 5% is not enough.
That's not okay. Maria, go ahead.
5% is not enough, you're right. But it's a start. And obviously somebody was listening when people were saying we need money from these abatements to come to the school, because the 5% started. It was already put in. So now the pressure has to continue. And Mike, you're correct. The pressure has to continue so that we can increase the amount that they're giving to the schools. So the process it started. They already put their foot forward and gave us 5% and gave the board and gave the schools 5%. Now the pressure just has to continue.
Thank you. Anthony, all right?
Well, I mean, Mike, I've seen you at the council meeting, so you know that I have attended some as I can. I was there working in the city. The timing has not always worked out, but I do feel that a presence at the council meeting is needed. But we also got to look at it realistically. Every time you're up at the meeting, planning board, zoning board, council, it's already decided before you get there, and everybody understands that. And that's something that also needs to change. We all know the pilot agreement is all to fill the structural deficit that the city has. They're not going to give us more money unless something drastic happens. So I think it's going to take an accident at one of these schools where the facilities are so horrible before the city wakes up and says, look, I got to stop looking out for myself and fill in my deficit because I have my own financial mismanagement and my own problems that have been going back for almost 30 years. So we keep approving projects and approving pilots because that's what's going to fill the city's coffers. There's no consideration in ours. That 5% is like a slap in the face because that does nothing. That doesn't even cover a pupil for their schooling in Bayonne for their time. All right? Yes, we need to show up
That's
more
not
and do it.
thank you, sir.
Mr. Morris, I want to thank you for asking your question. The short answer is yes, I would attend board city council meetings if I needed to voice my displeasure with the amount of abatements that we're going through. I'd like to point out to everybody that this board actually did pass a resolution about a year ago, actually voicing our disapproval with the city council and the city government about the amount of abatements it was passing and how adversely it was affecting our budget and the educational quality of the city of Bayonne. And you know what? We haven't heard back from them yet. I don't know if any trustee in this room, but I don't remember getting a response. So we have been advocating, Mike, and we have been fighting, and I understand what you're saying about a personal presence is warranted, and I will definitely take that into consideration. But we have, as a board, been fighting with the city council, telling every city council person how we felt. And 5% is definitely not enough. If we're going to get an abatement, it should be treated as traditional tax revenue. 40% schools, 40% municipal, and 20% county. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I think people don't also understand with the construction side of these abatements, they don't start that clock until the certificate of occupancy is in possession. You can push a TCO and be fully occupied for a number of years. So you can delay that 30-year clock for almost 5 years. You just keep renewing the TCO. It's not something that, oh yeah, it's 30 years from when they start. That's something I don't think a lot of people understand. It's a 30-year abatement, but this construction here, based on obviously being in the city, it's one of the slowest productions I've seen.
All right. So again, we're open to the audience. Anyone else interested in asking a question? Go ahead. Again, I think most people know who you are. Introduce yourself anyway.
John Seabeck. I'd like to thank the present board members that are running again for choosing to dedicate more of their time to the community, to the school system. I want to thank the candidates who are presently running also, who are not on the board, for running and wanting to play a part. There's a question that I have is that if there's one idea or one suggestion you can make to make this Board of Education a better place for our children, for our teachers, what is that one quality? What is that one trait that each of you can spearhead and work together with the other board members that would work and that would make a difference for the Board of Ed?
All right, let's hear it for John. Good question. I believe we're back at the top, so we're going to start with Maria.
You're asking about, it was about the board, how to make the Board of Ed better, right? Or the schools.
It's a pretty broad question. Your addition to the board, what would it do for the city as a whole, for our children, for our teachers, for the entire Board of Education?
Okay.
Thanks, John.
One area I'd like to see on the board, going to Board of Ed meetings, is the closed sessions are so many and they're long. And sometimes I'm in the audience with other parents. I was a parent, my daughter graduated, thank God. And we were sitting in the audience, and we actually have to leave because it was getting so late that we'd have to leave, you know. So and it was still in closed session. I'd like to see less closed session if possible. I know there's some legalities that they have to do behind closed doors, but have more discussion in the open so that we can all hear it. And also, I think that my knowledge, my extensive time in elementary schools would bring a picture a little bit when we're making decisions, how those decisions we're making, those policies we're implementing will affect a teacher teaching the lower grades and how it would affect the elementary schools. I think that's a different perspective that is not currently on the board of it. Is not currently on the board, and those changes really do affect children, younger children, and teachers of younger children, and parents that have younger children. Some policies that are in place do affect them more than high school students. That's what I would try to bring.
Very good, Maria. Trevor, go ahead.
So most people who know me know I'm a glass half full kind of person. I tend to be a fairly positive person. I like to look at the better side of things for the most part. And so I think the one thing that I would personally bring to the board and hopefully encourage within the schools is, a positive morale. There are a lot of really good things happening here. There's a lot of things that are broken, but there are significantly good things that happen every single day in this school. There are big wins for kids who have special needs and who have good experiences with their teachers. There are small little wins that my kid has every day that he comes home and tells me about, and we need to celebrate more of that. And I think that when you do that, you start to have better teacher morale. Better teacher morale turns into a better student experience, which is what we really all want in the big picture anyway. So I would find a way to celebrate more openly the wins. The everyday normal things you take home and you think it's not a big deal, it really is a big deal, and we need to publicize that more district-wide.
Very good, John. John, what do you think?
Well, it's not just one sentence that can answer this question, but it's simply solved with texting information and email information for all future and existing board members. And one big thing is to televise the meetings live. Live television for all school board meetings. And take advice from concerned individuals who attend the meetings, and they will all be welcome. Another thing would be no backdoor meetings. What I mean is closed-door sessions. It should be the clearest, open boards that anyone should sit on. I want a city, Bayonne, for us to be proud to sit on this board. I want the teachers to be proud of this board. I want the students to be proud of this board. I want the city of Bayonne to be proud of this board. I want the parents to be proud that we sit on this board. I want the children to experience a well-run school system. I want everyone that works for the school system to be proud that they work for the Bayonne Board of Education. That's my one thought.
Very good, John. Thanks a lot. Trustee?
One of the things that I would like to do and continue doing is to tell the truth, is to settle the teacher contract. Because I honestly believe that the teacher's contract, everything trickles down. If the teachers are happy, the students are happy, and the teachers will perform much better. And then give them a fair contract, and also that contract can't impact the taxpayers. Because when I look at the contract, I want to make sure that we don't increase taxes. So that's why being a part of the finance and negotiation is very important for me, and I take pride of being in the finance and negotiation, because I get to see both sides. But I would settle the teacher's contract as soon as possible.
Thanks, Miguel. Anthony?
I think it's not just like one thing. One skill set would be obviously my background in facilities and obviously the dire needs, so that would be like a skill set. But the one quality I think would help is actually having the true parent voice. And like I said in the beginning is, that's the one thing that I feel is lacking is a true parent representation. I mean, we have great PTAs, PTOs, and I think it's PTCs, I'm not sure what the other letter is. But we have great representation throughout this city with all of that. I see what, especially at Henry Harris and especially Lincoln School and all the functions that I've gone to, they put on amazing fundraisers, and we have the parents. And one complaint that I always hear is that they don't feel they have a true voice on the board. I had somebody reach out to me today saying they have no confidence in the school system based on the way that it has been running. Right? There's a lot of stuff that needs to be addressed, and I think just having an true independent voice, and speaking for the parents and being the voice for the parents is what I would bring to the table on top of obviously the facilities, which, like I said, it needs drastic help.
Very good. Trustee Wooters?
So the question was, what would I bring to the board, right? That's one question. Okay, so, all right, so currently I'm a teacher. I bring that, educational aspect to the board, which is important. I'm a parent of 2 public school children. I'm a consumer of the product. Okay, I see what my kids bring home for homework every day. I hear their stories about school, and I get a lot of information about the schools through parents and my kids. So I'm a consumer of that product, and I want it to be the best product possible. I communicate with everyone, okay? And you know what? I don't want to put my lovely wife on the spot that's in the audience tonight, but she can attest I'm on the phone with teachers, parents, board members, and administrators till sometimes 12:30 in the morning every night. And you know what? I continue doing that, and I will continue to do that because you know what? I'm all about communication and openness and transparency. And then the last aspect I bring, I'm a fighter. All right, I've fought board members in this room. I have fought, assemblymen, councilmen, anyone who really I think isn't doing the best for the Bayonne Public Schools. I will fight for our kids. I will fight for our teachers, and I bring that aspect to the board. I'm a fighter, and I'll continue fighting for you.
Go ahead, Danny.
I will bring to the board stability. I would also have, like I said in previous forums, I am here to work with and be elected with the board. I'm not running against anybody. I'm running independent. I'm running on my own, like many of us here, the 6 of us that are independent. I am ready, willing, and able to sit down and talk reasonably and get things done.
All right, very good. All right, so we are finally at the time where we have to close. So we're going to go in reverse order. We're going to start with Danny, and we're going to work through Chris and Anthony and so on. So 1 minute, everybody, a closing statement for our audience. Thank you.
Well, to start off, Danny again, and I am number 10J on the ballot. I am number 10. That doesn't mean I'm the bottom of the barrel. That means I'm carrying on.
I'm a father, a taxpayer, a teacher, and a board member. I was honored to be elected by this community in 2015. To have the faith and support of people is an overwhelming and humbling experience. And I'm asking this community to trust me again. I've accomplished every goal that I set out for myself in my first term, and I think we need to accomplish more. I voted no for teacher layoffs because I didn't believe losing educators was an answer to a problem that this board did not create. This is a very important election. It shouldn't be taken lightly. The new superintendent that will shape this district's direction for the next 10 years will be selected by the people on this dais. We have to maintain financial stability for the district. We have to settle the teacher's contract. We have to change our mindset from a fixed to a growth mindset. And we have to keep this board free of outside influence from all sides. This board should remain independent the way the people chose to make it. No influence from 630 Avenue C or 836 Broadway. I say it again, this board was chosen by the people, controlled by the people, and it should remain that way. No voting blocks and no outside influence. So I'm asking for your support on Tuesday. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Like I said earlier, obviously I'm Anthony D'Amico. I'm column HX, so that's out of the way. Like I've been saying throughout the night, obviously facilities is my strong suit, but facilities isn't all that I bring. I bring obviously the parent voice. I bring budget. I do construction projects. We do projects anywhere from $300,000 to $60 million. I deal with projects all the time. I've actually sat down with the accountant and the business administrator and went through the budget, corrected them on items that they didn't even pick up. So I'm willing to sit down with anybody. I've also sat down with the assemblyman and the mayor to review what's going on with the budget as soon as obviously it was brought out to the public's attention. So I'm a person that thinks logically. I don't react to stuff without doing my own due diligence. I will not create an issue just because something happened. I will sit there, I will go out and I will do my own research and find my own answers, because I feel there's always 3 answers. There's somebody's side, somebody else's, and then the truth. I look for the truth and try to find out what's going on. So I'm looking forward to getting elected and being able to look over the audit and see what actually happened and take whatever necessary steps we need to bring the board back to where the public and everybody can have their confidence back in the school district.
Teachers together because I believe in working as a team. And I believe right now the team that we have for the Bayonne Board of Education is a strong team. Right now there's 3 positions open. I really don't believe that there is 3 positions open. I think we only need to replace 1 position because we work really well together. I have no political affiliation. I have no conflict of interest, which means I have no family members in the school board. I have no hidden agenda. I have the most experience on the board, and that allows me to complete sound decisions. I will continue to stand up for the taxpayers, I will continue to stand up for the teachers, and I will continue to stand up for the students. I also voted no against teachers' layoff, and I fought to bring the teachers back. And I'm going to continue fighting to bring the teachers back. My ballot number is 7J. It's November 7th, 7J, lucky number 7.
I'm John Cupo. I'm not here looking for a job. I'm here to do a job. There are 3 seats open to fill, and I want to be one of those seats. I'm not quite sure if he's got this election sewed up or not. There's 3 open seats. I want one of the 3 seats. I'm an independent. I'm not associated with any local politicians or looking for endorsements. I have not asked for any endorsements from any local politicians. I have asked local politicians not to endorse anyone who are running for the school board. Not only this year, last year, and the year before. And the voters do not want to be influenced by the local politicians for this local school board race. My organization, and I got a huge organization, it's the City of Bayonne voters. That's who I want to support me. Let's get to the teachers. I want to give the teachers a contract, not for 1 year, not for 2 years, but for 5 years.
Sorry, John, but that's not.
We're out of time?
Yeah. Chairman, go ahead.
So, my name is Sharma Montgomery. I am 6J on the ballot. I'm a mom, I'm an Air Force veteran, a taxpayer here in Bayonne. I am also an independent, like many up here. I don't have any relatives or connections to the school board, which makes it possible for me to be a voice for the people that otherwise do not have a seat at the table on the school board. I think it's time that we do have independent representation and people who speak up for the taxpayer in Bayonne and are fiscally responsible with the money that has been entrusted to us as a board member. You give us your board, you give us your children and your money. I can't really think of anything more important than my kids and my money, and I am committed to making sure that I take good care of those 2 things for the voters of Bayonne.
Thanks, Charlie. Let's close it out.
Hi, I'm Maria Villano, J4. Like I said before, everyone knows that I'm running on a ticket that was supported. I would support that. Someone thought that I was good enough to be a board member. I am an independent thinker. I am no one's puppet. My husband is here. He's tried to control me for the past 26 years that we've been together. Still trying, the poor man. Hasn't worked. It worked to him. I probably wouldn't even be running for the school board. I'd be doing something else. But no, this is where I think I can make a difference. This past election cycle of 2016, one of the candidates said, if you want to make a difference, stand up and be part of the local government. And that's what I did. Last year I ran for school board, and I lost, but I came close. So this year I tried again. And I hope that with the support of the people of this city, that I will be able to make it to the school board this time.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
All right, so that's my message for us. So I just want to, give credit to everyone that made this possible. Bus Reports gave us this awesome live stream. Adam Sevinchik that gave us this sound system. The Bayonne Hispanic Association, A+ Graphic and Screen Design, and of course the Catholic War Events Post 1612. Obviously we couldn't do this without space.